Well, hey, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Open Mic Podcast, the coolest music podcast based about Ohio musicians in Richland County especially. I'm your host, Noah Jones, and I'm joined today with Coma Love, two of my favorite musicians in Mansfield. You're laughing, but it's true. How are you guys doing today?
Great.
Good, very good. Excited to be on a podcast.
Yeah, I'm super to have you. So I'm specifically here with Aaron Nicholas and Allie Carter, and you guys have been together as a band for how long? Not too long, right?
No, probably started writing music together, 9 months ago?
Yeah,
maybe?
hasn't been a year probably yet.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. You guys have had some pretty big shows that you guys have already had, though. I know that you guys played at, what's it called?
Slip and Fly.
Yeah, Slip and Fly. Yeah,
Yes.
how was that?
It's great.
That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was a good time.
Yeah. How many? It was a big crowd, right?
Yeah, we played the second day, so and it had rained a little bit.
Okay.
So the crowd wasn't as big, I don't think, on the second day as it was the first, but I think they were expecting like 10,000.
It's got to be a little overwhelming because that was your first major gig, right?
Yeah, it was super funny. We were going into Coney Island Diner on the main strip there, and Allie knows the owner, and she was like, "I was going to talk to you," and we're looking for musicians to play the second night or whatever else. And I was like, yeah, let's do this. And Allie's like, okay, yeah, we're going to do this. But it was so funny because we had never played our set.
Mm-mm.
Like, we had been practicing, but like really loosely and kind of casually because we're both busy. And so it was like, but this is a gig, so we're going to do it. Like, we're going to make it and pull it together. And it went really well. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was.
Well, that's really cool.
Yeah.
So you guys are going to play in After Hours, which is exciting for me because Aaron, actually, we met through After Hours. You sort of saved Richland Source's behind in terms of recording music. In 2015, that's when you sort of came on board, and you've really had a significant role in terms of why I think musicians are so excited to play. You want to just talk to us a little bit about your role in After Hours?
Yeah, well, first off, thank you. It means a lot to hear. I don't really feel like I do that much, but I definitely enjoy it. After Hours is great, and I actually got to play an After Hours with an old group, Trooper, and it was back in the old Richland Source Newsroom, back in the dungeon in the basement.
Yeah, I sneezed every day in that place.
And so it's actually just been fun for me to watch, not just Richland Source grow, but also Ideaworks come into full bloom, and to see you guys be so supportive of the local music scene and provide such incredible outlets and opportunities for them. I mean, you've connected musicians with Ashland radio stations now and tons of media coverage for local music. And I think really you guys have been a big part, probably one of the largest organizations as far as supporting the local art scene. And so for me, even back in 2015, to have this whole concept pitch of doing like NPR-esque tiny desk concerts, to see where it's grown now, where we're doing full productions with probably one of the best sound systems in town for sure, is really exciting. It's just fun to be a part of it and to watch it keep growing. And I'm excited to see what it continues to grow into. And now really, really excited to play on Friday, Village Druids with us. And I love Village Druids. And it's exciting for our Mansfield debut, because the last time we played locally outside of Slip and Fly was we basically improvised the set. There wasn't really songs with structure yet. It was before we released our single, and so to kind of finally get to be a part of the local music scene as musicians in performing capacity is really cool.
Well, thank you, first of all, for the first half of that bit. That means a lot to me that you recognize that, because I feel like Richland Source does a lot of music coverage for the area really well, but I'm a little biased, so it's actually really nice to hear you say exactly what I think about it. I'm really proud of what we're able to do, and I'm especially proud of getting to work for the people that I get to work, who basically just, approve of everything every pipe dream that I throw at them. They're sort of like, well, why the hell not? So yeah. It's really great. I mean, you're standing in one of the most spectacular shures that I've ever received. We started a podcast with a handheld recorder, and now we're talking on some of the nicest microphones that I've ever touched.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it just sort of goes to show that up and down, Richland Source really appreciates the music community, and I am especially proud of getting to be a part of it. But again with the performances that you do, it's cool. I would never have the cojones to get up on stage and just make up stuff. I think that sort of goes to show how good of musicians you guys are.
Oh man, see, I feel like it's easier to improv than it is to do music that you've already like written.
Really?
And
Oh,
done.
because I feel like you can practice that over and over again, but like you can't really. I mean, you can totally practice improvisation, but it's
Right.
never the same each time.
Yeah. See, for me, I feel like improv is easier because it comes from your heart and your soul, right? So like anything that comes out, it can't be a mistake. You just work
Sure.
off of it. But when you're playing music that you've already done, it's a little nerve-wracking for me.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I can make mistakes, and I'm like, oh man, if somebody's like, listened to this already or heard it, then they know I made a mistake.
Yeah. That's cool. So you guys came out though with not Coma Love, sorry. You guys came out with your
sort of.
Well,
right, yeah.
Need though. Let's talk a little bit about Need. First of all, it's a banger, and you guys got Taj Torrance, who's been on the podcast before. He's one of my favorite local musicians, local rappers. Everything
Same.
he touches
Yeah,
is
we love Taj.
absolute gold, and he really, you guys really made this a banger. I think when it came out, I listened to it several times in a row, and it's awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you. It
so
means
much.
a lot.
Yeah, that really does.
Well, talk to me a little bit about it. I sort of have. You guys were rehearsing it before we started recording this podcast, so I sort of got to hear some of the lyrics again over and over again. The content of it is sort of heavy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's kind of interesting because Need was birthed out of one of our little improv sessions.
Mm-hmm.
We were actually in my parents' basement in Michigan. It was one of the first times Allie had actually come up and met my folks. And
It was the first time that your parents heard me sing, and I was terrified.
yeah, and we just had gotten into the habit of jamming together before Coma Love had really been envisioned as like doing a duo thing. And I just started playing this little like the opening keyboard riff to Need. And she started singing these lyrics, and pretty soon it evolved, and we were like, oh, this would be a fun little improv. We'll just like every now and then pull this one out of the hat. And then somehow that developed into what it is now, which was our first single. And when we started laying the actual tracks and listening to the beat and the vibe and all this stuff, it was kind of like, yo, we could do a feature on this track. I think it'd be really fun to have an actual rapper, which God forbid I try that. And so Taj is a really good friend and obviously an amazing producer and artist.
Mm-hmm.
And we were like, we'll see if Taj wants to do it. And he was all about it. He showed up and we gave him a Shamrock Shake and like hashtag McDonald's or something. I don't know. Like
Yeah,
Shamrock
something
Shake.
silly.
And we're
Way to
like,
give, like, the billions and billions
That's right. Welcome. Now
people.
you can tag it.
People a shout out like they don't need more commercialization.
And so we give him a Shamrock Shake and put him in front of a mic, and he just started laying bars, and it was just ridiculously good.
So
it
he
fit the
improv
song.
that?
Yeah, he improv.
Which is
That's
great.
so
'cause
spectacular.
It's super ironic because
Yeah.
that's how the whole thing
And
started.
it was
Yeah.
exciting for us to hear him kind of take his own approach to the song and kind of where he took it. And he really captured the heart of the lyrical content without knowing any of the backstory of it. I mean, really the first time he heard Need was walking into that session.
So I was going to ask, how do you just, I mean, obviously you have a good relationship with him. You know him as a musician. You know that he's really good at what he does.
Yeah.
But is there sort of like a fear factor of being like, yeah, here's a track that you've never heard of, spit some flow through it?
No, I don't know. Alec might be able to say something different than me for that, but
Well, you both have microphones.
yeah, right, yeah. Like I think I know Taj.
Yeah.
And
I think that's why
Yeah.
we both, we're like, let's put Taj on this because he knows us both individually and he knows us both as a couple and as, in the band. And so
and really had been there from the moment we met.
Right. Yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
he was there from the very beginning.
Like
So
literally I think in the room the first
Yeah.
time we met each other.
yeah, he definitely was.
Yeah.
It's so funny. Yeah. So I think it was kind of a no-brainer for us to put him on the track because I think we both felt that he was going to capture that and what we wanted out of the track.
Yeah, and what's funny is Need, you talked about how heavy the song is, and I was, in the last 2 years, I blew my life apart and kind of completely changed career paths and social status and all this kind of stuff, and the lyrical content of it kind of was birthed out of some of that struggle, spiritually, internally, externally, with like how people were perceiving me. And Allie actually has had very similar life experiences like that. And so kind of coming together around that lyrical content was kind of nice, because the band name Coma Love actually kind of comes from that sense of like, of love unconscious, right? Like this love, whether it's love for other people or love for yourself or all of that stuff. And it really the lyrics of Need are kind of about that awakening. And so to have it be the first song unexpectedly was really, really cool. But I think what's funny is that the hook and kind of the chorus was that idea of we're trying to move on and grow and develop and learn from our mistakes and learn from our past and shift and change with the way things have fallen. And people just don't seem to be able to let go of that kind of development and growth, and even when they're growing themselves. And it's just funny what people hold on to.
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
And so it's kind of this weird, you hear the lyric in the first line of, I don't need nobody. And it's kind of that rejection of everybody else and finding yourself, but then coming back around with, I don't need anybody to let go. It's like, it's okay to hold on to grudges or pain or hurt. Like it's okay to be human that way. But at the same time, like, remember.
Don't put yourself there in the first place.
Yeah. But remember, like, don't put yourself there in the first place. You don't need
anyone to let go.
Yeah. And so it's just it kind of came out of all of that, and it was fun to put it to kind of a up-tempo, happy-ish sort of song. And so it was really cool to see Taj come in after him seeing us start playing music together for the first time and start dating and kind of become our friendship growing and then our music growing, and to have him hear the song and immediately understand what it was about and just start laying his perspective on what it means to let go and what it means to need somebody. And it really turned out to be a cool little song.
Yeah, well, it's totally cool. I love asking this as a fellow musician who does like some personal stuff when they write about it. Like, this was obviously very personal to you. Is it a little, does it make you nervous to put like your life story out there for people to listen to? Or is it sort of more comfortable in that that that's the way that it is? Does that make sense?
I think we have two very different answers in this. For me, absolutely. Like, I feel like it's you're very vulnerable when you put yourself out there,
right? And
it gives people the chance to be opinionated, and with that, if it's something that you're passionate about and someone's opinionated, you feel some type of way about that.
Right.
So for me, yeah, absolutely. It's scary, and it's also very empowering at the same time.
Right.
Because there's no way that I'm the only one that feels that way, or whatever that is. There's other people, other listeners that can feel that feel the same way, and that's kind of, for me, where I stand on it. What about you?
Yeah, and I think that's really where it comes down to for me too, is I'm more overwhelmed by the sense of connection for other people than I am my own insecurity about telling my story. And I think that the best songs that are ever written are the ones that come from that story perspective of, look, I went through this, here's some thoughts, take it or leave it. And it's interesting talking to some people that have heard the song or really like it or relate to it, tell me what it means to them, and have it really connect very differently than even the intention. And I think that is what makes it easier for me to be vulnerable in that sense. It's like, okay, so this is some kind of weird, musically poetic thing about my life and some of my experiences, and to have somebody come back and be like, hey, I understand where you're coming from with this, and I really appreciate it, and then realize that actually you kind of missed where I was coming from, but it means something to you, and that is really what I'm after. And it makes it easier to have people connect in their place and in their story, and be able to relate those two things.
Awesome. Well, I'm super excited to say that you guys are going to perform this song for us live in the studio. First time ever I've had a musician do this. Once again,
Awesome.
could only be done because Aaron Nicholas knows the soundboard so well. We spent about an hour setting this up.
Guy,
It's
right?
going to be amazing. So go ahead and take it away whenever you guys are ready.
All right. Don't talk, guess that's what you get when you get a little lost, but we all got needs. I still slip up at the gates on my knees. Dirty hands must have made a mold out of me. Oh, you're all not pleased. And I don't need nobody. And I don't need nobody.
Getting off on good behavior. We're all resurrected from the same grave. Where you blame guy, I call it handmade. Won't you let me be? And I don't need nobody. And I don't need nobody.
Wow, very nice. That was really great. Allie, oh, I guess I'm still speaking with some whatever they're called.
Got some effect on that.
Effect, yes, thank you. But Allie, we met when I wrote a story on you for a general news story about your dance studio in Lexington, Studio 65.
Yes.
And we spoke for I think an hour that day, and you told me that you used to be a cheerleader or a dancer for the Columbus Crew.
I was, yes.
And now you're over here in front of me with a gorgeous voice. Oh. You're just very, very talented. It's a little ridiculous.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So shy. Just got so shy.
I know. I'm blushing.
It's a good thing this isn't a video podcast.
Right?
Yeah, right. You see me hiding behind the mic right now.
But yeah, so I've heard that you now are in charge of 2 dance studios, correct?
Yeah, we're starting our second one. It just actually happened this week.
Very cool. Is that going to be like Studio 66? Or?
It's actually going to be Studio 65 Annex Center because we have our dance studio, and this is going to be more for our acro, contortion, and gymnastics programs.
Okay, very cool. I don't know what any of those things are, but maybe you can explain it.
So we compete at our studio. So there's many different genres of dance and competitive dance, and we are evolving more into the acro and tumbling side of things. So think more of like the rhythmic gymnasts that you see.
Sure.
That's more so the line of acro that we do. So it's less of the bar and beam and more of the what should I say? Girls that kind of can fold themselves in half. That's what this facility is going to be more geared towards. Is
very cool.
For those type of athletes.
Oh, super cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool. What kind of music would you say that you guys are doing? Because I know you're playing for Electronic Night, but I just sort of made that up so that I could get you and the Village Druids in the same building.
I don't know. We listen to a lot of different stuff, and just like any musician would probably tell you, there's a lot that kind of spins in your head when you're listening to stuff, and you end up referencing bands you like from different places and genres or lyrics or styles or melody lines or whatever. And I know that a blogger, Ryan Getz from Tuned Up, really great friend of mine from Columbus, has categorized this as dream pop, and I just kind of grabbed onto that because I love dream pop. I love a lot of bands that are in dream pop. I have friends that do dream pop. So, and it rides that electronic line, kind of moody, a little R&B, like a little, dancey or whatever it would be. So pop music with a lot of reverb, I guess. I don't know. It's just what it is.
But that won't fit on the iTunes.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
Okay,
whatever
cool.
iTunes says we are, I guess.
Right.
I guess it depends. I mean, if we're doing more of the improv, more along the lines of like, I don't know, neoclassical, Lindsey Sterling-ish.
Yeah, sure.
Type of,
for sure.
But, I mean, if you're on a track with Taj and we're doing Need,
sure.
a little different.
So, yeah, I mean, I hate asking that question because it sort of puts people in a box, but I didn't really know how to tell people what kind of music to expect.
My favorite thing is to just tell people to go listen to it, and then they can decide the genre just like they can decide what the song means.
Okay. Hey,
you know what I mean? It's
absolutely.
I don't know. Like I've had people kind of come from all over the map after they've heard us, friends mostly, right? That just people like come over while we're awkwardly band practicing and hanging out with them. And they all kind of have different flavor based on how they listen. And I think that it's fun for both of us to kind of take our influences, which are very different, and see what comes out when we sit down to write together. So, but I don't know. I like dream pop. It sounds dreamy and poppy. So
beautifully spoken.
Right.
Beautifully said.
Yeah.
So you guys do every Sunday, and I don't know if you're going to still do it tonight because you guys are on here, but you do like improv sessions on, I believe,
Monday nights.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I misremembered. But Monday nights you do improv stuff there. Tell us a little bit about that.
I like Allie said, I loved how she talked about improvisation. It really is heart music at that point because what's really funny is we're both pretty terrible at it, like improv. And I know it stresses Allie out like to the nth degree. If you want to spike her anxiety, tell her we're going live with improv.
Yeah, I can do improv in front of a crowd of people and do it live, but when you put it on the internet, it's a completely different ballgame for me.
Oh, that's interesting.
And but a big part of Coma Love, of what we wanted to do, was soundtrack music and music for meditation, so that we're not filling your head with our thoughts and our content. We're just gonna play, and maybe you'll vibe with it, right? And so it was kind of like an idea of like putting a stake in the ground on that concept, and giving people something to tune into that they can just turn off at the end of a day, especially on Monday when everybody has the Mondays, right? And just listen and or scroll past it if that's where they're at, or whatever it is. It's just kind of putting it out there for people to grab onto or not.
Do you guys? I mean, I'm assuming you guys are big believers in meditation, then.
No, it's
Okay.
it's a really good alliteration, music meditation Monday.
Okay.
And
We're big believers of be still.
yeah.
And so it's more just collect your thoughts and chill out for a minute and take a moment to yourself. I feel like, especially on Mondays, it's the beginning of the week and you feel like you have so much to do and you're just bogged down with all of these thoughts and everybody else's things that that you need to just get done. And it's, we do I guess you could call it meditation, or where we just, we're like, okay, let's just be still for a couple minutes and just chill out. And yeah, so I think it's more so on that side of things and less on the spiritual end of meditation, but more so on the I don't know, I guess social end, where you're just like, let's just chill out and just be yourself for a minute and not have to think about everything else that you have to do.
It's a pause button in a culture that just is constantly moving.
Yeah.
In that sense, for sure. I think the reason, that really is the heart of meditation. It's a buzzword for so many people, religious and spiritual, right? Like they hear meditation and they immediately conjures all of these thoughts. But Allie's right. It's really just, hey, like, let's just pause for a second. And I like doing it on social media because typically that's the thing that we fill our space with. Mm-hmm. And so it almost is like, I don't know, I like to imagine that somebody is stressed out at the end of a day, kind of trying to wind down and unplug, but instead of truly unplugging, they hit the scroll, just like all of us do every day, right? And I'd like to think that sometimes those people scroll past it and pause for a second because there's a violin. Everybody loves violin, right? And they're being filled with something that isn't informing them politically or socially or culturally. It's just music, right? And there's nothing else to it. And even if they only tune in for three or 4 seconds, that's 3 or 4 seconds that wasn't just the noise of the world. Because I think music is something outside of that. And it taps into something deep in everyone, I think. Mm. So it's kind of like throwing throwing people a curveball of stillness in a world of chaos, I guess.
Okay, sorry, I was just pausing because I really liked how you said that. Sorry. I can tell you're a lyricist. That's cool.
Well, thank you.
How long do you typically do those?
He would like to do them all night.
Okay. So, like, you guys settle it like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Allie dials me back.
I do. I think we first started, we were thinking 30 minutes.
Yeah.
But that's 30, again, for me, 30 minutes of playing with a room full of people is a flash. 30 minutes on social media when you feel like a million eyes or just one is watching you and being, that's a completely different ballgame.
Sure. Sure.
So I think 15 minutes is usually our max.
Okay.
And it's funny because back to the culture pace of culture, right? Especially in the States, like that's 10 minutes is a long time for anyone.
Yeah.
To sit and listen to something.
Oh, absolutely.
So I think she's probably more onto something there than I am. But it's good.
Well, that's cool. So you guys are going to be playing at After Hours, which starts doors open at 6 o'clock on the third Friday of this month, which is the 21st, correct?
This Friday.
Okay, awesome. This Friday. And you guys are going to be debuting a new song called Sunset Lover, or is it Lovers?
Sunset Lover.
Okay, Sunset Lover. Sunset Lover, goodness. And tell me a little bit about this song.
This one's yours.
All right, Sunset Lover. So I feel like this is more geared towards the female in me. Well, I mean, I am a female, so. But I think this song came about, and some of these lyrics came into play when myself and some of my friends were going through a little bit of dating stress.
Okay.
Where you might be seeing someone that you only see at night, or it's kind of, it's not really there, but it's there. And so you meet them out, you might meet them out at a bar, or you might meet them for dinner or whatever, and you hang out, and then you do your thing, and you might converse or whatever, and see each other and then go home, and this has a lot of personal effect on both of us as well, I think, because at the beginning of our relationship, being where we both were in our lives, we were private, very private about dating, and I think that it weighed on me a little bit, where I wanted to be more open and I couldn't be yet, like I was like, we're not there where we are like,
yeah, and
official.
and my dumbass would pretend she didn't exist sometimes in public, and just figuring it out and figuring out, who I was. And it's really funny when the lyrics kind of emerged.
Mm-hmm.
It communicated a lot to me about what I was doing to her and didn't realize, right? And it's kind of a perfect follow-up to Need, actually. Kind of like you could almost think of it as a phase 1 and a phase 2 of life, of our life at least. And but it's something that, like she said, we've seen a lot of our friends go through in the last 3 months, and we just have been there. Like, and it's been fun to write a song that kind of speaks to all of those moments, where you're seeing something emerge relationally between two people, and then it's like it's not happening when there are other people in the room.
Yeah.
Or
the other end of it is where you might be into someone and you're kind of dating, and you're like, well, I can't get hooked, or I can't fall in love with you.
Yeah.
Like
dating is the worst.
Oh, it really is. And so that's, a part of the a few lines we were kind of like battling back and forth, like, do we keep them? Do we not keep them? But it was like something that kind of just happened, and at the point where we were dating, and we were like, yeah, like we're hanging out, we're dating, and we're seeing each other, but this can't go any further than this. We can't make this a thing or have a future or be in love. It's like, it was very like,
why not?
I think mostly because I was opening, not opening, but, focused on my studio and
Gotcha.
kind of trying to get my life back together after being divorced. And he was going through the same thing. And it was kind of like, you need to figure yourself out before you get involved with someone else.
Right.
And we can be sunset lovers and we can hang out, but we can't do this for eternity. And that's kind of like where those lines came from, like, we can be what we are right now, but not anything more than that, whatever it is. Like, it was just very vague and started that way.
Yeah.
At least.
Gotcha. Cool. Well, whenever you all are ready to play it for me, I'm ready to hear it.
All right.
in this reality. I don't need you for eternity. Just for the night you can set me free.
Very nice. That's really cool. So, I mean, obviously, I hear what we just talked about, but there's also, a bit of like hopefulness too, especially
Absolutely,
with like the Somewhere Over the Rainbow.
Oh yeah.
And
Thank you.
It's really
I'm glad
cool.
you caught it.
Yeah.
So, okay, so Wizard of Oz is like one of the most influential movies of my like childhood.
So you've never actually been to Kansas then?
Never been to Kansas. No, actually, I have once maybe.
Why is it influential to you?
I grew up watching a lot of musicals
Okay.
and a lot of movies. Probably more so than what I should have as a child.
My parents would disagree, but that's okay.
So I think this was a great opportunity for me to kind of bring that positivity from a movie into, you know what I mean? Like as a kid, like we all wanted to go to a cool castle on a yellow brick road.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it was that enlightenment, like you said, like that happy feeling. And as does any, I don't know, maybe not any, but in relationships and in especially with my experience with the beginning of our relationship, I wanted something more so than what we had, even though I knew it probably, like I was like, no, I can't, but I should, or maybe I shouldn't. And it was a positive, like it made me feel like a girl, like just that like little girl, like with a crush.
Well, it's great. I'm only asking this because I don't make beats. How do you go about doing that with you all? Is it you come up with like the sort of violin melodies and melodies of vocals first, and then you put something that works under it, or is it sort of the first thing that you guys do, sort of like a melody?
He usually comes up with like the piano and the beats first, I think, and then we kind of fill in with violin. And Somewhere Over the Rainbow didn't come about until a few hours before we played our first gig.
Oh wow! So it's sort of just like a happy realization.
Yeah. He was
Cool.
just like, "Oh, we should do this." Like,
Yeah, it's fun because it's it's a sunset rainbow.
Yeah.
It's kind of this little hopeful hint in the midst of all that crazy heavy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, well, that's really cool. That's pretty much, I'm out of questions. I've nailed my list. Do you guys have anything else you guys wanted to talk about? I really don't want you guys to leave, but I'm out of things to say.
Just come out Friday. We're going to be officially releasing Sunset Lover at that show, which is fun. So this is a little preview. And remember 6 o'clock door at IdeaWorks with Village Druids, electronic
free beer,
music
free
night,
music,
free beer, free
food.
music, free food. And we'll all be hanging out afterwards too. So come enjoy some really great local music. And us too.
Yeah.
And
come and see us.
Yeah, and say hi, come hang out, eat Doc's Deli, and drink some coffee and martini sponsored alcohol and all that jazz. So.
Yeah. So again, After Hours is held at IdeaWorks, which is 40 West 4th Street. For those of you who have never attended and yet still listen to the podcast, appreciate you. Thank you guys so much for listening to this episode. It's been a really fun one.
Thank you.
Thank you.